The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
Over. CBR Street Gang, this is all by standing by, over.
Testing, testing, testing. Let me know if you can hear me okay across the various chats before we get rolling here. We have Twitch, YouTube, and X.com going right now, so you can let me know if the microphone audio is coming through okay. That would be great. And then we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. All right, let's get rolling. Hello and welcome to Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is May 17th, 2024, and it is a Friday, so we're heading into the weekend even. Can't even get through like my intro without stumbling through these days, but we're heading into the weekend on what looks to be a fairly bullish candle. We'll see how today closes. But you might notice that we're not starting out with Bollinger Bands again here. So if you watched the last recorded video that I didn't start out with Bollinger Bands. It was just candlesticks. And we went through and drew on some areas of interest to the upside and downside. And that was all related to identifying this new trend that is beginning to show itself on the daily. Now, we have a bit of a stoplight situation going on here on my chart. You can see that, Bitcoin did break the downtrending cycle here on this closure, which came in on Wednesday by closing that Wednesday candle above 65,523. And the next area that I mentioned in many videos now, since this downtrend really started to dig itself down and swing the lows down here on a closing basis and get that deviation outside of the range, was to come up and at the time take out 67,300, 2 to 300, depending on your exchange. We did see that Bitcoin came up, printed another lower high, but then subsequently printed a complex higher lows. And in this case, we had needed to see Bitcoin close a daily candle and preferably higher term timeframes above around 63,500 to solidify this swing low and closing low structure, and then push up and test 65,523 to go for the trend break. So we do have something different going on now. We do have a downtrend break, and we do have higher low, and wherever this ends up in terms of its related trend would be a higher high, as this is beginning to shift trend. Now, the next area of interest that I mentioned after seeing a break of 65.5 is this area right here at 67.2 to 3. And I want to note how important this area is really quick here by jumping directly into the 4-hour time frame. And you can see I have this green box up here for must recover. And you can see that the close open came in just slightly below it. So, this is going to be around all of these swing highs and closing highs, you're going to see short-term time frame resistance at minimum. If we do see Bitcoin blast on through this area, though, there is another area to be aware of to the upside, and that is right around the prior cycle all-time high at $69,000. I would say roughly $68,000 to $70,000 is going to be the next big area of overhead resistance if Bitcoin does manage to close a daily here in the near term above the 67,300 area. Now, provided that it continues to hold some of these areas that I'm going to talk about why they're important, the must recover, safe, and danger zone is provided it maintains above the danger zone. We're looking for higher low structure to form yet again, and then fully confirm on any push above wherever it puts in the next local high full trend on the daily. Now, you can see that Bitcoin had rejected this area on the daily. This is coming in just above $69,000 at roughly 69,325. Bitcoin rejected this area prior. It did deviate above and then, came back down for liquidity into that big monthly zone that we have been talking about prior. And then it came back up and, kind of sat above $69,000, dipped in and out a few times, but you can see as it started to reclaim under 69,200 or so, it was destined to head down to test supports again. Now, I did want to call out that we have a must recover zone. This is a must recover to go test the highs again. And that would basically be the area of interest between 67.3 and 69,200 to be more precise than some of the longer term time frame support and resistance areas that I have been showing you. And in this case, anywhere above there, I would be looking somewhere around the $70,000 to $73,000 area here, where we have some closes, and of course that wick high coming in just shy of the all-time high close open, just beneath $73,000. Anywhere above there, even in lower term timeframes, I would be looking for the all-time high at somewhere around $73,835 to $75,000 initially. So just be aware of that. Bitcoin must recover this area between 67,300 and 69,200 or so for me to start looking for further upside to test the actual lower highs here and then the all-time high and higher. Now, Bitcoin still is safe to pull back to this safe zone. This is coming in at around 64,500, and the confirmation of setting this closing higher low. Which came in, this was the rejective area at 63.5. So this is a safe zone between 63.5 and 64.5. If we do start to see price trading below there, be aware that higher low is in danger. That's coming in on a close at 60,800. Basically, it's a little bit below there here on Coinbase Spot to around 60,000 to 60,150. If Bitcoin begins to close any kind of higher term time frame like a daily or higher, we're looking at that deviation low getting ran again. And that was coming in on a close at around 58.2 to 3 down to 56,500. I would be looking for more on top of that, probably 55 to 55.5 initially to swing that low, and then we await higher term time frame closures and see where things head from there. But likely down to this structure right here, which is coming in from that weekly area at 53,000. We have some closes at 51.8 to 50,800, and then I'd be looking basically 53 to $50,000 to the downside. To the upside, pretty simple. Above that 67,200, we're looking for a minimum test the prior cycle all-time high area around $69,000, 68 to 69. And then above there, we're looking 70, and then to the highs at 73, almost 74,000. Pretty simple setup. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to throw on the normal chart that I typically show here. Actually, you know what? We should probably throw on Bollinger Bands first. So as I am a volatility trader, you always see this on my chart. And you can see that how the Bollinger Bands kind of line up in these important areas. So for the volatility level of interest to the downside, the very first level below the price action right now is the upper first standard deviation. Now, at the start of today's daily candle, it was basically right at 64,500, directly in line with this wick low structure over here that tried to put in a trend change higher high, did not close above these wick highs up here at around 71,800. But that area was the primary rejection area for this high side structure. And we can see that, if Bitcoin did start to lose that upper first, I would be generally looking down to the 63.5, possibly down to the close opens here, somewhere around $63,000. If it started to drop that, we're looking to 62,500. Below there, we're looking to the lower first, right around that higher low structure again. And of course, that's coming in at around that 60,800 to roughly 60,000 to 60,000, 150, depending on the exchange that you're looking at. Anywhere below there, we're looking to the lower second, and that's a run of the close open lows there at 58, 2 to 300. Below there, we're looking to the actual wick lows, possibly even swinging them down to like, $55,000 to $56,000 below this 56,500 structural low. And that's going to be, that would be pretty bad for the bulls. I think, we start seeing closures like that. You're going to see a lot of the bullishness not only get sapped out in terms of price structure, but all of the higher term time frame momentum will start to shift along with bearish divergence. So just be aware of the downside areas. Bitcoin, of course, is moving up. So be very aware of the area that it just tapped in the lower term timeframes. This was a beautiful move up. Now, I do want to kind of show, that this is a very nice compression to expansion, found support on a previous area that it had already found support. So prior support over here on this low coming in from early April. And in this case, right up to the overhead resistance, pinned it, and then, close open basically right on it, and then move down to the volatility expansion area of interest for me personally for continuation is, staying above this upper first to continue the expansion to the upside on this 4-hour chart. So in this case, this does mean if Bitcoin can close above the upper first and especially take out its now local structural 4-hour high there at 67,500, I would in general be looking up to around $68,000 to $69,000. We have the upper second is likely going to move up towards $69,000 in its next closure. It's currently at 68,700. So I am projecting it to, continue up a little bit in the next closure. As long as Bitcoin, realistically, as long as Bitcoin is trading anywhere above the basis, I would expect it to keep moving up a bit. And especially if it's trading in and around or above the upper first standard deviation of the bands here. So I would be looking for possible targets for continuation, provided it gets above the local wick high in the 4-hour into around $68,000 to $69,000, possibly the top side of this green zone where it must recover. If we do start seeing Bitcoin close 4, 6, 8, 12 or dailies in this area here above 67,300 or so, this was a rejected area. And of course, that is the next big lower high on the daily that Bitcoin needs to take out. Then I would most certainly be looking for it to test up to the top side. Even if it just kind of messes around in this area, I would be looking for at minimum a test up. If it did start to lose the basis on the 4-hour, you can see that the lower second to the safe zone here is a pretty big area of interest. We have that 64,500 to 63.5. I would expect in the next 4-hour closure, which is coming in about 47 minutes, to actually start really moving up aggressively towards around 63.5 or so. To be fair, it's like 63,470, so it's a little bit below there, but I would expect the lower first to be right around that area. And again, on the 4-hour, I want to point out that the lower second standard deviation is just skating along the top side of the daily close area there at 60,800 or so. It's currently coming in just above there at 60,850. And of course, that's the top side of the danger zone. That'd be a retest of the higher low area. And you probably don't want to see Bitcoin do that, to be quite honest, if it is going to remain more aggressively bullish to the upside. Otherwise, even if it holds it, it's just going to be a lot of waiting and sideways price action. So I did want to point out on the 4-hour, we're looking at, saying like I did want to point out a lot. We're looking at this higher low structure, just kind of continuing on the momentum indicator here. 66,600. There you go. The devil's number is the pivot right now. Of course, that is going to update and become a little bit more aggressive in the next closure. So in this case, still upside pressure on any closes above that area at about 66,600. Bitcoin currently trading about 100 to 150 bucks above there. It's kind of oscillating around in the lower term time frames. The 12-hour is another one that we do want to pay attention to. Main reason that I want you to pay close attention to the 12-hour is that this is, a nice expansion down, retest, bearishly retest the upper first, come back down, bounce off of this from upper first to lower first, bounce off of that area, and then go into compression again. And this is expansion. Now, it's not the most aggressive expansion that, we're going to see on the 12-hour, but it is kind of setting the bias again to the upside. You can see the upper second standard deviation in and around that overhead resistance at that, 67,300 being the prior swing resistance. It did wick through it to around that 67,500 even. And if it does close below it by end of day today, the upper first is going to move up somewhere around this close open at 65,250 to 65,500. I would expect rather. And I would expect the basis to be in and around this 63.5 area. So again, this would be the safe area to come back and retest. You really don't want to see it lost, to be quite honest, because the criteria for taking out the last higher low on the 12-hour is a little bit more aggressive, meaning that it's above the danger zone on the daily. Now, granted, it could swing it. The lower first is skating right across that danger zone at 60,800, but this wick high, any closures below there, we're definitely testing into it. Of course, if it didn't already test into it, but that's at $61,000. But this is confirmed expansion to the upside. So this is bullish, bearish. Bears had their chance, and there's no real bearish momentum in the lower term timeframes that I've identified just yet. And there are divergences, obviously, but in terms of momentum and the areas that it needs to hold, I haven't really identified too much that is turning just yet. So this has legs. We can see that there's no in trend because we have a new trend. So we have this downtrend and then we have a new uptrend, right? So in trend bearish divergence, not possible at this particular moment. If it puts in a high here, if it puts in a high right here, right now, then we would see some bearish divergence. I don't know how many indicators are going to identify that, but it's already put in its high. It already got a 3-candle high structure on a close at 66,535 and then pushed up higher. So if it does close anywhere above the wicks there at around, right around where it's trading right now, actually, 66,750. If it does put in a high, and how would it do that? Any 12-hour closures basically below 65,200. That would put in a 12-hour high. That would throw regular bearish divergence from here. Again, that would be one drive. It's not a death sentence as long as it's hanging out above the safe zone. And in my opinion, it is better to see, of course, Bitcoin hang out above 64.5 to $65,000 right now. And you'll see that when I look at the daily chart here, that momentum is probably going to be, actually it's probably going to update though. So we're probably looking at 64.5 to $65,000 as the momentum pivot on the daily. So you do kind of want to see continuation, and it's a weekend, so can get a little dicey and a little messy if volume absolutely dies and there isn't a desire to push things further up. Currently, for today, the momentum pivot is at $64,000, coming into the daily close, but that will update. I would expect it to be somewhere around 64 and a half, which is the top side of the safe zone here, to around, possibly even the open. I'm sorry, the close from yesterday, not the open. So that would be the close close from yesterday, open of today. So if it were to take out, Friday's open, today's open, then I would be looking for it to test down. That could be the pivot, possibly then sending things down a bit further to that 63 and a half, $63,000 area. So now that we got that pretty much wrapped, let's go ahead and take a look at a few other things. We've got some higher term time frame closures, I suspect, coming in. I haven't looked, I have looked, but I have not necessarily paid too much attention today. Been a little busy, but I do want to point out that the upper third coming in directly in line with the prior cycle high at $69,000. So even if Bitcoin does close above the upper second, it is likely to find significant lower term time frame resistance at that daily upper third, right around that $68,000 to $69,000 zone, which of course is the top side of that green zone, or the must recover zone that I was just showing earlier. And then of course there we would be looking for it to test the highs and higher, somewhere around 73,835, 73 to 75, then 75 to 78, 78 to 80, and so on and so forth. For those of you that have been around here before, I will show some of the further upside targets in a moment, but let's go through some of the higher term time frames. So the 2 day is going to be closing with today's daily. This is, encouraging that Bitcoin, did take out the 2 day lower high structure. This was a confirmed lower high, not just on a swing, but on a close, because of the additional move down into the monthly zone from October of 2021 down to March of 2021. And in this case, a recovery of the basis band is encouraging, but I do want to warn bulls. If it's going to be bearish, the area that it's going to reject at is right here by the upper first standard deviation from the volatility perspective. From the upper first standard deviation to that upper second area. If it's going to be bearish, it's going to reject there, put in a high, and then try to run right back to the monthlies. Now, it can find short-term time frame resistance, even 2 day resistance around these areas. You just don't want to see a confirmed high that would then come back down and specifically lose the basis band. So I want to be very specific about this. If you do have to be careful in these areas if you're bullish, and if you're bearish, you're looking for a rejection right around where we are seeing this now to around $69,000. And that lines up with the upper first and upper second standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands on the 2 day chart. But unless bears, even if it puts in a high, because it is breaking structure, it's putting in a higher high and it has confirmed a higher low, it's safe to come back down to the same, zones that I just talked about. You don't really want to see it closing below the 2 days basis band, which is currently at $64,000. That's like right on the edge of the safe zone between 63.5 and 64.5. You don't want to see it closing below there, because on the 2 day, if it did close below there, where's the lower first? Coming right in line with our October monthly, again, right around the higher low. And bulls would want to see this push up, possibly even push up above, even if it's on a swing, and then hold wherever the basis band is on the 2 day chart. Now, the encouraging part about this is bulls have got some momentum on their side. 61,000 is the momentum pivot on the 2-day chart, so looking pretty good. It's also, you might have caught this, we are playing out a bit of an inverted head and shoulders on RSI. Yes, there's a daily inverted head and shoulders on RSI as well, and on regular price action, but it's a pretty clean one here on the 2-day, and I would actually favor this one as the playable one. Now, you'll note that this is an inverted head and shoulders on RSI, and I'm being specific when I say that because on the price charts, one of the things that I want to warn many pattern traders about, if you don't see the same look on RSI that you're seeing on price action, you're likely to get what's called a throwback to the head. Sometimes a throwback to the shoulder, but typically it's a throwback to the head. That would mean that, if you're purely playing the inverted head and shoulders on the 2-day, which, there's a specific percentage hit rate that you can go back and calculate for Bitcoin. It's not great, by the way. It's kind of a coin flip in most cases for Bitcoin. And in this case, you're looking at this being, right around the neckline, depending on where things close or how you're measuring it. I would take the wicks to be safe. So you need to see closures above 67,300 to even be playable. But what lends it a little bit more strength is the fact that you're seeing that same inverted head and shoulders look on RSI with regular bullish divergence. And that regular bullish divergence came from the actual shoulders. So if you are a pattern trader, you may not have even known some of this stuff, but if you're even following pattern traders, just understand that purely looking at the pattern on price action isn't the full picture and typically has a very low hit rate and a very high throwback rate, which means that it fails at the neckline, throws right back to the head, which, by the way, would be the lows, and that would probably turn very bearish very quickly with those targets down to that consolidation that we saw in mid-February, basically mid to late February, right around the September of 2021 weekly swing high at 53 to the August and December weekly closes from 2021. That was the primary resistance and then also primary support here in 2024, just below where Bitcoin is trading now in terms of zones. But, momentum's on the bull side. We have a momentum shift likely in the cards for some of the higher term timeframes above the daily and 2-day as well. We've got the 3-day trading above the basis band here, giving us a natural target of guess where? Around $68,000 to $69,000. Again, you're seeing the confluence with, horizontal support and resistance and areas of interest and volatility levels kind of just lining up across the board. So that does mean when these areas either break or fail, they're that much more important. And in this case, we see that, if Bitcoin can close today's daily candle, not only will it close a 2-day, it's going to close a 3-day. And the being above the basis, which is around that 65,300 area, kind of right around the daily lower high trend break that we needed to see that we did get. If it closes above there, well, the next target's going to be the upper first right there around $68,000 to $69,000. And then above there, the upper second, which is right around the highs again. Now, the upper second is coming in around $72,000. And above like 68 to 69, kind of 68 to 70 is kind of the zone right around the prior cycle high. Above there, I'm looking for 70 to 73. So that would encompass the upper second here. I do want you to note here on the 3-day chart that the upper second is currently above the all-time high closes up here. So just be aware of that. That does mean that if it starts to break out above there, not only are we looking at the wicks as being the next big targets, we're looking at probably a replacement, price replace band, as I like to say. And that would be, any closures above the upper second. We're looking for price to head up to where the upper third currently is. It would move in real time, but that's currently coming in around that $75,000 region. Of course, if Bitcoin did break down below the basis, that makes the higher low structure on the daily and 2-day available. This would also be a swing higher low confirmation and a kind of a complex lower low to higher low. You're going to see people call this a higher low. I don't like the structure enough to call it a higher low. Maybe it is in your eyes. That is a bit subjective because this is just a straight downtrend. This never set a low over here. So this was the low. This would be the base for your low. So this would all kind of be a higher low, be a swing higher low. It's a consolidation structure is really all it is. But in reality, any closes below around 65,000 does give us that target down to the lower first, coming in at 62, possibly back down to actually test this swing structure and closing structure around that 60,800 to 60,150. Anywhere below there, the lower second is coming in right at the close open. You'll notice that the 3-day never lost this March of 2021 monthly close. That was a monthly and quarterly close, and the 3-day did not lose it. That is also where you see the lower second standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands. So just to kind of give you an idea of where things are and how I derive my targets, anywhere below there, right, we'd be looking to the actual wick lows at 65.5. And you may remember I mentioned that if Bitcoin did fail here and it did turn bearish in some manner and fail to complete the trend turnaround on the daily, well, we'd be looking at the low at 56,500 to around the lower third, which is around 55. So I'd mentioned 55 to 55.5. If it were to swing it, of course, if it starts getting expansion below there and getting like 3-day closures below there, then we're looking to 53 to 50. But as it stands, again, I have to talk about the downside targets, even though it's exciting and things are pumping up. And you might even think that downside targets, you shouldn't even look at them. I'm bullish. Well, you got to be aware of the conditions that might be met and or need to be met to the upside for things to really get rolling. And it's very, very clear. Really, anywhere above $69,000 to $70,000 or 68 to 70, things are going to go run the highs more than likely and higher. At minimum, I'd be looking, $75,000 to $78,000 locally, maybe some higher low structure builds from there. Maybe it just God candles its way up to our next targets above there, which would be 78 to 80, and then the mid to low 80s. Now, I had mentioned this, and I've referenced this chart a lot. The 4-day went from beautiful, beautiful expansion to compression, and this is what we want to see in the context of an upside move in a bull market. Found support in a major area of interest. Did even swing below it, obviously. But from the 4-day perspective, we see that the range is tightening. And again, I want to point out, upper first coming in line with prior cycle high, $68,000 to $70,000. This is skating right across $69,000, just above it slightly, at around $69,186. So any closures on the 4-day above there would start to paint a little bit of expansion. But you want to see closures above the upper second that then take out the actual all-time high up here on a wick basis. Needs to take it out on a close, of course. Take out that wick on a close. So closures above the upper second at 72,200 that then subsequently go and close on the 4-day above the all-time high here at 73,835 would kick off expansion to the upside. And that is primarily the next leg. And to the downside, if Bitcoin, and I want to point out that Bitcoin is currently, using the basis as support on a close open, and did even, regained the April of 2021 monthly swing high at $65,000 in the last 4-day closure, even back tested it. So in my personal opinion, when just purely looking at the candles, if it closes anywhere here or higher, we are looking for it to come up, of course, in confluence with closing above the basis, come up and test that upper first standard deviation somewhere around that $69,000, or again, use a range around 68 to 70 especially if you're trading lower term timeframes. But if it did lose this area, paint a high, which would be a higher high and a close, pretty much equal. It's a lower low close, but it's pretty much equal lows here. It would paint a lower high in context of the downtrend anyway. it would look like more consolidation, and I would be looking for it to test around 63,500 or so, which is the 4-day lower first. Anywhere below there, we're looking at the daily higher low structure right there at the lower second standard deviation coming in around that 60,150 area. Start closing below there, it's expansion down to at minimum test the lows here. The current wick low structure on the lower lows at that 56,500 zone. Any kind of confirmed expansion below there, and that would be major 4-day expansion down to that $53,000 to $50,000 area. So be aware of that. If you were going to ask my personal opinion, of course, everything is conditional. My personal opinion is that bulls have their chance right now. Bears are on the hot seat. If they push things up a little bit more, you're likely to see, bears holding on for dear life, and then getting, pushed out of the market and having to switch positions or reposition. Now, the 4-day chart has a nice cross back to the upside. Momentum pivot's going to be 61,800. 3-day is cross back to the upside, confirmed. Any closures on the 3-day above $60,000. And of course, you might notice something here. We have the daily, the 2-day. Of course, the daily closes every day. The 2-day, 3-day. And of course, we do not have a 4-day and we do not have a 5-day. But we're going to get early confirmation on the 2-day, 3-day for continuation of this momentum shift. We even have a fancy green dot on this particular indicator indicating that, this is bullish. But we already knew that from lower term timeframes. So, but the 4-day need to see continuation through the weekend, right? So when this candle closes, we got Saturday, Sunday. Once the weekly closes, we got the 4-day closure. So you want to see it closing above, basically 62. The 3-day will close with the 4-day candle. So I'm sorry, the 3-day. I'm clicking on the 5-day, said 3-day, and it's one of those. It's a Friday. So go figure. Now the 5-day on this Friday, as I look at the 5-day, we have, this closing with the weekly as well. So we're getting like good medium-term time frame closures coming in on a Friday that's bullish for traditional markets. From the Bitcoin perspective, it's CME has a markup, but it's also, looking very good. Now we need to see this complete through the weekend. And this is where we want to see the 5-day, deepen this compression a bit. We want to see it, of course, close the end of the weekend above the basis band, which is coming in where? 63,800. So right around that 64 to 64,500 area. Very bullish, I think, as long as Bitcoin's remaining above and holding above $65,000. But of course, closing above the basis band would give us the target of upside target of the upper first, which is coming in around where? $69,000. And then, of course, if it did lose it, we're looking to the support again somewhere around the 61,350 to 58,800. Lower first is coming in right around that $58,000 level. Now, if we do see the 5-day begin to close above the upper first, that gives us the target of the upper second, which is above the highs at $75,000. And we actually have more room on this. If we did see Bitcoin close above it and start getting expansion, because this is going into compression. So understand that this was big volatility expansion into compression, and it's likely to compress some more in its next closure. So if it does get above the upper first, you're going to start to see it get, slight volatility uptick on BBWP. But if it starts to close above the upper second, that's re-expansion. Of course, that would also be a breakout above the all-time high here. And we'd be looking, that's around $75,000. Above there, you're looking to around 80, where the upper third is. And that's where I'm getting, you can see how I'm getting the targets of 75, get above the highs. We're looking 73 to 75. Above the all-time high is kind of a zone of interest. And then, of course, above 75 to 78, and then 78 to 80, which, of course, would fall in between the band levels here between the upper second and upper third on the 5-day. So very important to watch the 4-day, 5-day closures coming in. We're going to see a lot of interesting things, I suspect, coming into the back half of the month here. And then the last piece, and this is where I'm going to leave things for this analysis. Coming into the weekend, you can see that the bias is because Bitcoin is trading above the basis, as long as it's holding this monthly zone from the weekly perspective, the upper first is coming in where? $69,000. We've been saying this a lot of 69s going on in this particular stream. And if Bitcoin does close there by the end of the weekend, the end of the Sunday candle, well, we'd be looking at this being incredibly bullish to a minimum go and test the close opens somewhere above 70, if it does get above 70,000 to $73,000. If it starts to close above its all-time high on the daily, the weekly target is coming in at the upper second from there, and that's coming in just shy of $80,000. So I hope that I've illustrated how all of these things kind of fit together across the time frames and the important areas of interest to the upside and downside. Now, obviously, I'm bullish on this structure. Just put in a higher low and higher high structure, no matter where it closes. Even if it puts in a high, it's in higher low, higher high structure on the daily. But we need to see it start to creep through those other time frames, form lows, especially here on the weekly. If this closes anywhere by Sunday above, right around 65,700, 65,800. I mean, technically, it's only got to close above this open here at $64,000 to start showing a closing low. You can be more aggressive with it at 65. I'm very aggressive. I want to see this close the weekly above 67,300 because you do have to measure the close open areas to the wicks because it can still reject around the wicks while putting in a structural closing low, meaning a higher close than the downtrending closes. So in this case, you're going to see likely anywhere above even the close open here at $64,000. You're likely going to see this print on most indicators a low on the weekly. The swing low has already been confirmed. The swing low is going to be confirmed anywhere above $64,000. For me, the closing low confirmation needs to come in above 65,800, 750 to 800. Yes, that is more aggressive from the technical point of view. And what I really need to see is a close above 67,300. If Bitcoin doesn't close above it, then it's got next week to try. But very bullish on weekly closures above 67,300 or so. I do want to make that well known. Then I am looking at this possibly, if it didn't already get ran over the weekend, to get run coming into next week at around that, 68 to 70, running the upper first and the prior cycle high at $69,000. So we are looking at all of the encouraging bullish signs that we want to see and that we talked about, including all the way back when we were talking about we want to see bullish divergence form from within the range, not off of the lower low. And we're starting to see that as well. I also want you to note that the weekly momentum pivot is at $69,000. So closures above there would start to turn this back up. We would need to see the next weekly follow through. You can even see preliminary in the interim, because I can't say that word successfully that I was going to try to say. In the interim here, you can see the Bitcoin's already showing that it's going to paint this as a low because of the swing low on most RSI indicators. So yes, I would agree that the swing low is absolutely confirmed anywhere above $64,000. But I need that additional criteria to raise my targets. So I need that from the weekly perspective. I need to see that 67,300 at minimum closed above on a daily, and especially if it closes it above there on the weekly, then it's very, very, very bullish to go retest the highs and higher. And that's going to do it for the Bitcoin analysis today. I'm going to take a look at runes because, man, you want to talk about shit coins. We're going to look at runes. You might think you know shit coins. And I'm going to introduce you to runes, the ultimate shit coins on Bitcoin. And they're actually performing pretty well. You might be going, well, why are they performing so well? Well, it must be because of the Kraken news and the Binance news and the news, the news, the news, the news. No, it's because Bitcoin is going up. Everything is going up. When people are bullish, they buy. You would, you know, the opposite is typically how you create generational wealth is by buying when everyone is bearish, and then selling when everyone is getting peak bullish, right? But the sentiment is on the chart, right? We had the higher lows and we were making vastly lower lows on many altcoins, and especially in the rune space. And some altcoins really held up actually quite well and went into reaccumulation. But runes. Let's just go look at them so that you can see what I'm talking about here. And TradingView is not cooperating. Maybe we won't take a look at runes. Oh no, everything is going haywire. Am I even online anymore? What just happened? If you're in the chats there, let me know if the stream is if you can hear me. Obviously, if I don't see anybody chatting or saying anything, then I'm just talking to myself. But let's go ahead and look at some runes. It did finally pop up, and I do see that I am outputting bitrate to all of the different services, so we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and look at dog. I know that there's a contingent of people that do not like this coin. I don't really care about, and I don't even care about my own opinion of it. I care about the chart. And I don't really care about other people's opinions on any of the assets themselves, right? And you shouldn't care about mine either, because if you're in it to make money, you need to look at the chart. And the chart looking encouraging here on some of the longer term timeframes, but realistically, you're going to want to keep an eye on the 4-hour. This has been in a heavy downtrend ever since it listed on exchanges. This is Gate.io. This is actually listed on quite a few more exchanges now, as is RuneCoin, which is, the two market leaders are Dog, which is Dog Go to the Moon, which was the Runestone airdrop, and then you had the Risic airdrop was Rune coins, and that was, those are the two big market leaders in the Rune space, which is just shit coins on Bitcoin, and probably gonna end up not getting any reach on the YouTube video for that because I keep swearing. But in this case, being the market leaders, when they listed, many went just straight down. Obviously, that's supply side pressure. You have new listings, listing pump, and then dump as supply starts to get injected into the market from people realizing that they can get out in an easy manner. And in this case, we do have our first real big structural change on the 4-hour. We have a clean downtrend break and clean higher low structure. So what you're realistically looking for is for this to hold up above and or come back down and retest even the 0.023 cent region. And if it does happen to trade back above around 0.028 cents, then we're looking for it to eventually go up and retest this big failed high up here at around 0.003 to 0.033 cents. Now, I bring that up because we can actually get the SAT listings for those of you that are doing it, basically buying lots and not trading it on exchanges. You're looking at the downside area to hold in terms of SATs around 0.229 or 0.0229. So we can just go 229. We're looking at about, I'm sorry. We're going to go 0.229. It's about, let's go 2.3. We're looking at about 3 sats, 3.5 sats or so. Let me update this though, because it's not actually pulling the right number. Yeah, so around 3 sats, which is just doesn't seem right to me that that calculation is right. It'd be 22. Yeah, 2281. What was this one here? 235. Let's go ahead and just use that as our metric here. Yeah, it's about 4 sats. So holding up above around 4 sats even, it's kind of where you want to see things coming in to maintain higher low structure. It needs to, in the shorter term, take out around the upper third on the 4 hours. So it's likely to, maybe it comes back down and retests, but maybe 4.5 sats or so. I think it's actually trading around there. We're probably looking at about 0028. So we're looking at about, and this is not, this was giving me, so yeah, so we're looking at about 4.5 sats, no, 4.2. Yeah, it needs to hold and start trading above 4.2 sats. And to the downside, looking for 3.5, I believe. So we're looking at 3.5 cents to hold, or 3.5 sats to hold. And to the upside, looking at taking out that 4.8, I believe. It's a little goofy to try and get this. Yeah, 4.2, 4.28 area to the upside is what you need to take, what it needs to be at in terms of lot size for sats in order to get continuation to test up further. This is going to be the big overhead resistance, and I'm going to get the sat number for you. So that's 3369. Nice. That is how many USDs. So we're looking at 5.5 to 5.4 sats is what it needs to take out to the upside. If it can do that, I think that it's going to probably oscillate around some more and go into a wider accumulation period, but at least see a significant run up. Now, we're also dealing with very large ranges here. So I do want you to understand that, you know, this here was a 46% drawdown, and from the low to move up, we're at a 50%, 52, almost 53% move off of the low. But it, of course, needs to go about another, 40% to even get back to that high. So it can pump up there, needs to break it, and then we can start looking for it to go on a bit of a run. When looking at RuneCoin, which is your Risic Genesis runes, this actually looks much the same in terms of its downtrending structure. Broke out and is now an uptrending structure. It's not very clean, but it actually hit our zones that we had previously talked about in one of the other live streams, or maybe it was a Discord voice chat. But in this case, the major high that it needed to take out was this area here at about 0.009 cents, 0.091 cents. And it did nearly spike that today. So we're looking at probably, what is that, like 15? Yeah, it's about 14 to 15 sats, 14.5. Let's look here. Let's refine that a little bit. So probably looking a little bit more like 15.7, 15.8, 6. Yeah, 13.6 sats or so. Right around 13.6 is where it seemed to have peaked today. And to maintain this structure, you need to see it continuing to trade above around 0.067, 0.068 cents. So we're looking at about 10 sats. So we're looking at a range between 10 sats and about it's updated with price. Sorry, we're looking at about 10 sats to like 13.4 is kind of the range right now, and you need to see it holding up above 10 sats when you're looking at lot prices, because that is the last higher low in a close as it stands right now. This is trying to turn its structure around. I do suspect that these go into a longer form accumulation, even if they swing up a little bit further. Maybe this swings up and tests around 15 or 16 sats, which is, roughly getting in around a penny, maybe just shy of a penny. And, that's going to be this structure over here. So if we were going to look at a penny, what is that going to look like? That's probably like 20 sats, or you might even start getting close to a penny at 19 sats and 18 sats, I believe. It's like, 17, 16. Yeah, you're looking at probably like at around between 15. You're going to be around that penny area. It's nearly there anyway. At around the 13.2 sat high that it currently put in. So we do really want to see it holding up above 10 sats, start pushing above probably about 15. And then 15 to 20 is probably going to be the sweet zone. Probably going to see some exits there. And then it goes into a little bit of reaccumulation. And again, you want to see it holding up above that 10 sat region for now. And I'll refine the rune analysis. Obviously, this is the first time I'm really going through it in any kind of detail for you and trying to relate the exchange price to sat price that you're going to find on the lot listings. So please do bear with me, and I do apologize. And Epic is still just straight down. Poor Epic. People minted this, and it just was not a good scene. They paid lots and lots of money to mint like 1% of the supply. This is, by the way, I do think that this has a future in it. We'll see what the guys over there at the Blob crew do with, that's Neuro and crew over there, as they did inscribe their rune on the Epic Sat. And of course, there wasn't a lot of holders, and what those holders are doing is just distributing down. So it's not even really worth getting into right now. One of the runes that is holding up, it is going sideways in a reaccumulation style structure, is the Game of Bitcoin rune. And in this case, this had a nice pop up, and it's kind of trading right around where it closed when it first listed. So this is very, very strong. This is actually one of the strongest, or stronger ones, I should say. Maybe it's not the strongest. But in this case, we have a reaccumulation zone that we had already identified. And in order to really start breaking out and testing the areas that it needs to basically get above, we need to see this above around... Need to see it trading and closing above around 50 to 51 cents. And that is an easy number to read. So above 50 to 51 cents, I would be looking for a pretty significant markup to around 55 cents here at this high, and then a test up to around 60 cents. If it can regain 60 cents, that puts it above all of this low side structure, and likely it's going to make a quick move to 65 to 70 cents. Nice little order block there. No, it's not really that relevant right now, but then above there, about 80 cents. Now, it does need to hold above these lows here at around 40 cents. Starts to lose that area, 40 to 38 cents, it's going to be distribution. So just understand that. What I will say, though, is this looks very, very good. This is a good chart. This is pump up. It's holding in and around its close opens that it got from its initial listing pump, and it's going sideways. That's actually a good thing. Fairly strong chart, reaccumulation. Do your own research on the rest of it. I don't know if there's outstanding supply or any kind of airdrop that's going on. I have no idea. So I would encourage you to investigate the fundamental side, because who knows if I don't know if there's like more liquidity that could be injected, which would be supply side pressure that would cause a, distribution. As it is right now, this is a reaccumulation, and looks fairly good. We've got Lobo. This is just down only. This hasn't even broken into an uptrend. I don't think it's worth looking at right now until it does. Currently, it's got to take out a higher high at like 0.000. There's a lot of zeros. Is there 2 or 3 zeros there? It looks like 3 zeros. That's a lot of zeros. I don't. This thing is trying to form a base. It did get a reclaim of this downtrending structure. This is a, what would be considered a bullish reclaim, but in the lower term time frames, it's already completed its, move up to overhead resistance here at about 0.000645 cents. So yeah, this thing is doesn't look great. This is going to be, yeah, it's like 1 sat right now. And I mean, to be fair, just getting to 2 sats would be, it's like a fraction of a sat. 0.00067 is actually right around where it peaked today at about 1 sat even. Probably slightly under 1 sat. So that's where, this has got some big work to do. Above 1 sat, it might be interesting again. I would say above probably 2 sats is where you'd want to see it to even get that interested in possible structure, and then maybe a reaccumulation period. As it stands right now, though, it's ugly, as is Satoshi. It did bounce up to our area there at 135 or $1.35. Not a good look. Oh, sorry, did I not? Oh yeah, if you want to know sats, I'm sorry, I'll go back to this real quick. For a game of Bitcoin, you need to see it closing above around 51 cents or so to start testing 55 to 60. That's where we're looking at. We can just do 50 cents, and then it's like I think it's 740. We can get away. I think it's like 720. Let's go there. So 725.30. So around 730 sats to 740 sats. You're looking at that 50 cent region. Need to see it closing above around 755 sats to start looking for another move up. Otherwise, to the downside, you've got 38 to 40 cents, and that's you're looking in the 530. It's like 550, 560, 560 to around 600 sats. So 560 to 600 sats is where it needs to hold. And then to the upside, you need to see it taken out about 750 sats to start looking for more. So got about 150 sat range there. In about 100 sat range to the downside. So I would, it looks good. But looking at Satoshi, for anyone that owns this is a straight shot down. If it's going to try for accumulation, it'll reject here and then try to come back down to like 89 to 90 cents. That would be fine. And then try to form a base. If it starts to drop that area, then you got to be aware of that, 90 cent to 60 cent region again. Anywhere below 60 cents, it's just, it's got to go find a bottom again. If it does happen to get above $1.35 on a close, that is not necessarily going to be the area that I'd be interested. That is just to break this particular downtrending structure. And we do have, a higher low in place. So if it's going to break it, then we have an uptrending structure. But I'm not really interested in this running much further until I see closures above $1.67. And in order to even have that chance, you can see the rejection here of this zone. So the next big zone of interest would be $1.41 to $1.67. So it has to reclaim basically this breakdown and rejection in the lower term timeframes before the big move down. If it was going to reclaim like $1.40 to $1.41, I'd be interested in some further upside. I I would just be aware of wicks into it that reject again in the lower term timeframes. And then finally, we'll get to Wanko Manko, which I believe was another one that I felt was going into an accumulation structure, and it has held that accumulation structure. So this area between about, what are we looking at, like 11 cents, 11 and a half cents to the upside, we're looking at about 13 to 14 cents. And that is kind of the reaccumulation that we're looking at for this particular zone. If it can start to change structure, and it is in position with higher lows right now, but this does look a little weak. But if it starts to close above about 14.3 cents to 15 cent area, we're looking at a fairly substantial, zone between these highs and these lows. Above there, I'm looking for it to probably move to 20 cents and beyond. Maybe even swing the highs up there before getting going. This could be setting up for expansion too. So if you do start seeing the upside structure break on this, then we're looking at it likely. So anywhere above like 14.3 cents on a close, like a 6 hour, we're probably looking at expansion up to go test 15, 16, probably even up to 20 cents or so. And that would look like on the SATS side of things, you're looking at 14.3. So we're looking at, this would be like 2, that's 13. Oops, 220. Yeah, you're looking at like 210 to 220 is where you need to see it start trading for it to start looking for expansion up to around the 19 cent region to 20 cent region. And that's around 300 sats. So you got room between like 220 or 215 even to around, what is 210? 205? 200. So it's around, you might be able to get away with moving like between 205 and like 270, 290, 295. Yeah. That's kind of the area that I'd be looking, like 205, 210 to around 300 sats. If it starts breaking out above 300 sats, you're looking at this thing aggressively moving back to the upside. So it is currently still in a consolidation, though. All right, that was the first big attempted rune coin conversion to sats. I will stop doing that kind of conversion after a little while. I want to see some more listings. So that is something that I need to see more exchange listings or more listings of runes, and then more of those runes on more exchanges. And then we'll move over to purely charting them based on their US dollar price. And then you can go and do the SAT conversion yourself. Kraken doesn't seem to be the best. I'll just grab another one. I'm not going to go search another one right this second, but I'll grab another SAT converter so that we can kind of relate the levels of interest to the upside and down and downside to those larger lots sizes in terms of sats going forward. And one last thing I'm going to leave you with. You want to know how strong something is in the altcoin market? Look at it versus its BTC pair. One step further. Some of you may already know this. I show ETH BTC, for instance, looks absolutely horrendous, probably getting a bounce. I mean, if it didn't bounce, I'd be actually pretty concerned. But like ETH BTC, we're looking at, not ETC BTC. What am I doing? My apologies. ETH BTC even. No, and it still didn't update. Something's going on with either my network or, all right, everything is frozen. Maybe I'm frozen. Who knows? I could be. Well, TradingView is not cooperating now. Magic Eden wasn't cooperating earlier either, and I was in a voice chat on Discord. So if you can if you can hear me still, then I'm not quite sure what the problem is, but there's a lot of sites are seeming to have some kind of issues. Could be a hosting issue, and they all share similar hosts. Could be an Amazon thing. Who knows? I have no idea. Haven't looked into it. It shows, I mean, I'm on a, let's see. I think, let's see. Hold on one second. I'm going to turn on my phone. I'm going to see if I can watch my own stream. Yeah, this is definitely server side issue, to the point that let's just reload the chart. All right, there we go. If it loads. Well, this is fun. We're having some technical difficulties. I was going to show you something pretty damn interesting too, for those of you that are interested. It's not anything new. It's just something that I actually forgot to say in the Pepe Ordinals Maxi Discord stream yesterday, and that was in reference to a question that Bello had asked, and that was, what do you think about relative strength versus Bitcoin across some of these coins, like Ethereum or some of the other ones. And now it seems like we're back. It's a little slow, but it seems like we might be back and able to search. Who knows? Maybe not. There it goes. But a nice pump up. Hey, Bobby, I hope you got out. Watch this thing just rips. It just freaking shotguns its way. It's like 0.1 Bitcoin overnight. I'm like, damn it. I had like $450,000 on that trade. Like, no. All right. If you want to see relative strength versus Bitcoin, if something is strong against Bitcoin, probably going to be outperforming other altcoins in the market. And if you want to then compare that to ETH, which is not doing very well, by the way. For instance, if you wanted to look at Solana versus ETH, just type in Solana versus ETH and compare the BTC. So we got Solana versus BTC, and then the Solana versus ETH. And then, of course, that relative to what it's doing versus the US dollar to gauge general strength. And I'm just using this as an example. But Solana versus Bitcoin in a very nice uptrend. Obviously, ETH versus Bitcoin was not. It was kind of a straight shot down. Now, Solana is in a more macro uptrend on the weekly. Could it turn into, some kind of a distribution? Sure. But as it stands right now, this is higher low, higher high structure. So after the reaccumulation, first shotgun blast of Bitcoin to the upside, all alts kind of, went up with it, but kind of got wrecked on the way back down, as liquidity was pulled out of them. But in terms of their Bitcoin pairings, right? Now, in this case, it's been in a beautiful uptrend since, June of 2023, whereas ETH BTC has been in a downtrend since, 2022. Let's see. This has been a macro downtrend since, realistically, 2021. It's been in a downtrend since the highs, and it has not recovered well. So if you were to look at Solana versus ETH, and in addition to this would be, go look at the Solana versus USD chart. You do need to know where it is versus the US dollar, if it's hitting major overhead resistances, stuff like that. So if I wanted to see how these things perform versus Ethereum, just type in the Ethereum pair, and you can see that it's strong against Bitcoin. It's been strong against ETH as well. Obviously, ETH has not been doing well against Bitcoin. So nice uptrend. Looks, this is Sol versus Ethereum. I know that this is still checked off as ETH versus BTC, but it is Sol versus Ethereum. Looks very similar to Sol versus BTC. So Sol has been outperforming. Does that mean that it's going to continue to outperform forevermore? Probably not. I don't know. Who knows? I would say probably not. It's probably going to go into more long form consolidation at some point. But I am bullish on the USD version of this chart. So, in general, unless, ETH really gets off its ass and starts moving to the upside more aggressively than Solana moves to the upside, which in both cases, you're more than likely seeing Bitcoin move to the upside. But at this particular point, Solana is outperforming ETH and quite aggressively versus BTC. And when you pair them against each other, Solana's got a beautiful uptrend, and this is just the inverted chart, which would be a beautiful downtrend for ETH versus Solana. Now, you can do this for any coin, but I do suggest you look at its US dollar chart. Are you bullish or bearish on it? Identify the zones of interest. Then how strong is it versus Bitcoin? If it's strong versus Bitcoin, it's probably going to be strong versus Ethereum, because we know Ethereum is not strong versus Bitcoin. So, and then if you just want to evaluate other coins versus Ethereum, you have another view or another confirmation of those views until we see something change on the Ethereum chart, which ETH BTC looks to be in distribution. I think like we looked at it on that voice chat the other day, and I was thinking like, probably $10,000. I know there's a lot of $20,000 calls, but $10,000 for ETH in an aggressive alt season is probably, $8,000 to $10,000 probably where things land. Could it wick above and below? Who knows? But not looking very strong right now. It's Bitcoin's time anyway. When it starts breaking out above its all-time high again, going for the next leg, it's the first real leg post-halving, and you'll see everything go up versus US dollar. But in general, looking for Bitcoin to just own the space. And we're going to see if Rune coins can run with Bitcoin when Bitcoin, there are some, primarily the bigger players, your Dog Rune coin and the Rune coin, or the Rune coin Rune. Those are going to do pretty darn well. They have distributed sets of holders. And they are the big dogs in the space. There might be a few others that start really gaining traction. I like whatever the one is, the Game of Bitcoin or whatever that was. That looks like a nice reaccumulation. We'll see if it remains that way. But looks pretty good, to be quite honest, in its reaccumulation so far. We'll see if Bitcoin, when it breaks its all-time high again and starts to run, if Rune coins are beneficiaries of that. You will see altcoins run versus their Bitcoin pairs, but just be aware that it's not, that's not alt season. So, all right. That's going to do it for the bulk of my analysis. I know the Rune coin or the Runes analysis is a little messy right now. I'm going to tighten that up for you, and I'm going to find some better ways to illustrate the exchange listing price versus the SAT lot price for you. But we'll revisit that. And of course, for those of you that did arrive late, did my full spiel on Bitcoin earlier in the stream, and looks bullish right now. Need to see it close above 67,300. Then we're looking for somewhere around 69K or $68,000 to $70,000 or so. And then above there, the highs and higher. Now, Bitcoin needs to hold the higher low on the daily. That higher low is currently at 60,800 on a close, on a daily close. And then, of course, we've got the actual wick low coming in at 60,150. So as long as Bitcoin is adhering to that, it's up and to the right. And that's pretty much it. I will take a moment here and throw this back on just so we can have the oversimplification of that structure and how it relates to support and resistance historically, and then the bands, volatility levels. And let's go ahead and turn on a little bit of music here, and I'll jump into the chat here. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them out. Otherwise, I am pretty much done with the analysis portion, unless there are some things that you'd like me to look at. I'm struggling to find where the media player went. Okay, I think I found it. Let's go ahead and go with this. We'll throw on some background music to cover for the silence while I'm reading through some of the chats here. All right, so it looks like we've got Ivan, Roka, Bobby, Jedi, and Dawn that are actually actively chatting. I see a lot of people in the chat, but that are actually actively chatting over there. We've got quite a lot of people on X. Now, if you are on X, you'll notice that the stream is, the quality of the stream is not great. Now, that's safe for the content. At least the visual quality is not great. You might also agree that the content isn't great, but that's to each their own. Now, I would suggest that you head over to YouTube, quite honestly, because the streaming quality sucks on X, and I'm pushing a high bit rate. So if you are interested in these streams, and it's really only for the streams that you're going to see the better quality, because any of the recorded videos I upload directly to X, so they're going to be full quality. I'm having a tough time talking today. I don't really know what's going on. But in this case, I would suggest for streams that you watch them on YouTube, because you're going to be able to see the numbers on the chart. You're going to be able to see the actual levels and stuff like that. Whereas like on X, it just looks like absolute trash most of the time. I wish that they would, I don't know what kind of compression algorithm they're using on their end. I'm pushing a high bit rate and it's not pushing out very high quality streams. So much better experience over on YouTube. For those of you on Twitch, also same thing. I don't really curate Twitch at all. It's just that my software automatically streams there. So if you would like to come and hang out with us, I would say even a lower quality X stream in terms of picture quality is the place to be, or head on over to YouTube. If you cannot find that on Twitch, I do suggest you head over to the main profile page. You can find my X profile link. Head there. My YouTube is linked there, and then of course the X stream is right below that. Yeah. Nice charting session the other day in the group. Oh yeah. You're talking about the so for those of you that are here from some of the various ordinals communities, let's go ahead to degen mode. It's degen it up, 30-second chart. So there's really like 4 main ordinals communities, and that I am active in. Of course, New Bitcoin Order, NBO. Shout out to the team over there. Great people. Oh, well, I guess I'd be shouting myself out because I'm also a team member. I should disclose that. But great people, great team, great community. We've got, of course, Pepe Ordinals Maxis. And that was the Discord voice stream. Absolutely awesome community. If you're not familiar with that project, most of you that join these streams are probably familiar with New Bitcoin Order and some of the other projects, but Pepe Ordinals Maxis, great project, great art. They got a lot of cool stuff coming, and the team is absolutely stellar, and the community is awesome. And then of course, Sigma is OGs in the space. A lot of super knowledgeable people over there, fun community, awesome PFPs, right? Like all of these projects have awesome art, so that's kind of not really, if I'm recommending it, it's probably going to be high quality art, as I don't look for flips typically. And then Nat Monkey's always showing out DMT project. Goyozo's over there, just still cooking away, doing great stuff. Great community. And I do appreciate everyone that comes from those communities and hangs out in the streams here. And then, of course, there's my community. And screw you guys. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are great, and I love you. You know that. We've been doing this a long-ass time. So, am I? No. I'm not a founder of any ordinal stuff. No. I'm a TA guy. I'm a trader. I actually am in many ordinals for the art, believe it or not. Yeah, new Bitcoin order, Palm or Petme ordinals, Maxi, Sigmas, Nat Monkeys. Like they're high quality projects with excellent art, excellent teams, and all of them have great communities. I don't hang out in communities that are full of I don't hang out with assholes. Typically that's, I say that, and then people from my community, which is just a TA community, will be like, well, yeah, because you're the asshole. So anyone compared to you. I'm just kidding. Yeah, they do a bit of trolling. Yeah. No, I would suggest that you head on over to either the YouTube or the X stream. Yeah. For those of you in Twitch. Yeah. No, I can keep an eye on all the chats now. Did you want me to look at a coin? Oh no, okay. I did look at the coin that you wanted me to look at. Was it a rune? What's the name of it? I think I looked at it. Yeah. It was it's called Game of Blocks, right? Or Game of Bitcoin, Game of Blocks. I don't know what Game of Blocks would be. Game of Bitcoin. My apologies. Yes. Oh, okay, you were correcting me that it's Game of Bitcoin. My apologies. Yeah, I'm just super confused on the naming on some of these, so I'm not familiar with all of the different mints that were going on. There's I think they're up to 69,000 mints or something crazy like that, or etchings for runes. Some kind of absurd number. No, I mean, this looks like reaccumulation. Yeah. Oh, you own some? Cool. I can't give you advice on, whether or not you should be in it, but I can tell you that, below 38 cents, this is distribution. Get above about 50 to 51 cents, and it's probably pretty quickly going to test 55 to 60 cents. And most of the platforms will do the conversion for you. It's just that the lot size tends to mess people up, because anybody, they can aggregate lot sizes on their listings. So, or break them up. But yeah, I will have a solution for that soon, hopefully. At minimum, a charting solution. Got Benjamin. Oh shit, why did chat pause over here? Hi Benjamin. We've got who else? Okay, this stopped updating a while ago on my side, so there might be chats that I missed. So let's look here. I needed a nap. Oh, you're late all the time, man. Jeez. Jedi, you're late. Check Gary Network. You take a look. You'll have to give me the exchange you want me to look at it on. Shitcoin's not dead yet. Yeah, no. So I can take a look at Gary. AVAX. Yeah, I've been trading AVAX a lot. The price on dog is 3.97 sats. Yeah, 4 sats seems right. Yeah, okay. If I recall, is that Jedi? You're gonna have to explain what that is. Game of blocks, game of Bitcoin are two different things. Yeah, sorry, I misspoke on that one. BLNK. All right, so let's look at a few of these. If you're still there, because I don't know when this chat came in because it's not time-stamped over here. So where was that particular... Gary Network. So Disclosure Crypto says Gary Network. I'm gonna just pull Binance, I guess, because I don't really know. I guess there's no Binance. So let me see if it's got its full name, because it doesn't. Okay, it is. That is the one. You can pull Kraken. No, that's Euro, US dollar. On Kraken. We could go OKX or Gate.io. Probably not going to matter. Oh boy. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Bobby knows why I'm saying uh-oh. This does not look great. So listed in January of 2022. So we had a bear market to bull market shift, and this has done not too much. To be fair, man, no. This thing got annihilated. This is not a great looking chart, but it has set its low. So what you need to see is, because it's in a daily downtrending structure right now after putting in, you know, probably some bullish divergence, if I'd imagine. Yep. 2.3 cents is the pivot. What's it trading at? Yeah, 2.3 cents is the momentum pivot. So realistically, it's got to put in a low on the daily. So, I mean, it's playing around its lows, and it gave itself a lot of work to do. This is not a good structure on it. To be quite honest, this is a terrible structure. Because the last high that it needs to take out is at 4 cents even. And locally, if this trades anywhere below 2.2 cents on an, and closes below there, it's heading to the lows. It's heading to this low side structure again, around 1.98 cents, 1.94 or so. It's going to run this kind of zone down here. So you kind of have a bigger zone. It's not great. Now, what would be encouraging is just even setting a low on the daily would be encouraging right now. Is if it can get a reclaim of this low up here. So we'll just do red and green. All right, so if you see this starting to close anywhere below 2.2 cents, 2 cents even, it's likely going to run 1.94, 1.95 cents by its current low side structure. So you do have some areas of interest to the downside if it were to hold. I mean, otherwise, yeah, this is like crucial. It needs to hold that, or it's going to be distribution back to its bear market lows. Like it could be in a reaccumulation, but this is not going to be. This is not the kind of structure you want to see. Encouraging again if it can start even putting in a daily low. Right now, that's going to come on any closes above about 2.45 to 2.5 cents. So above 2.5 cents, it could set a daily low, but even locally, it's got to get above like 2.6 cents. And then if it can bullishly reclaim around 2.8 to 3 cents and hold it, then we can start marking up to around 3.3 to 3.5 cents and maybe eventually up to 4 cent region again. It's got to break above 4 cents, and then it's got this massive overhead resistance above there, and like between like 4.5 cents and all the way up to 6.2 cents or so. Now, I suspect that this may bounce in the future, but if you see this thing closing below 1.95 cents, this thing's running for its actual bear market low. I'd be more interested on the daily around 4 cents, but again, this is tough, because if you were to pull this out to a weekly, that does not look great. Because in reality, again, it needs to get above about 4.8 cents and then definitely take out this area where it rejected on the weekly that's where things would probably change around longer term, is above 6.2 to 6.3 cents on a weekly close, and then this thing is not complete garbage anymore. As it stands right now, this chart is terrible. I don't know what it is or what it does, but I can tell you, this is, by the way, when I look at coins, you're going to hear me say a lot of this stuff. If the chart's not good, that's not an indictment on you. That's the chart. Looks like trash. It's kind of like looking at Epic on the Epic the Rune coin. It's just literally straight down. And I own some. I bought some, like, yeah, it's got to bounce here, right? Nope. I didn't spend a lot of money on it. It's like, hey, let's take a flyer on it right here. And then down. So yeah, does not look good. But at least, above 2.2 to 1.95 cents, it has a possibility. So Benjamin mentioned BLNK. I don't know what that is, but let's take a look. Do you have a pairing, or is that a stock? That's Blink Charging. Oh, this is a regular stock. Yeah, I am familiar with this particular stock that looks like absolute trash. Let me explain something to you about some of these tech stocks that were on the energy side of things. You might be looking at the possibility of maybe setting a low around here, but from the weekly standpoint, like, this thing stinks, and it has such horrible oversight, just like on that chart for Gary. It's got such strong overhead resistance that you're probably going to see lots of exiting on it. And in this case, now it's good on the weekly above 2.55 cents or 2.55. I'm so used to saying, and it's, so it's on the weekly looking fine, but it still has to break out above at minimum 468 to do anything of interest. And that wouldn't even be a reclaim of this low. That would just be to go test around 550. Like, other than that, like, this thing is just, it's cooked. It's cooked, man. It's cooked. Like, the news, what you got to understand, the news doesn't matter, because the chart's going to drive what news you hear about something. And if the news was good, you would see a big pump. What you're seeing here is indicative of a reaccumulation structure, and I would say, as long as it's trading above $2.18, it's trying to mark up, versus when it was on its lows back in 18 coming into 20, and it had a chance. I mean, think about all of the different subsidies that are in the energy sector. Doesn't matter what kind of energy either. I mean, you saw like regular battery makers, like the manufacturers of Energizer and Duracell doing well. So this is not a good chart for long term. I suspect that when even looking at the monthly, could it turn around and bounce? If it's going to do it, it's got to do it soon. It's got to get above 466. Then it can set a monthly low. it would throw bullish divergence. Oh man, 267 is going to be the pivot. It's already getting some momentum up on the monthly. I mean, below 218, it's dropping to a $1.25. Above 466, it's got room to the $5 to $6, maybe even $7 area. Then you can start marking up to the $5 to $10 zone, maybe even up to $15 or so, where this high coincides with this low structure on the monthly. So, but as it stands right now, this is cooked. Doesn't look good. I would wait for it to move if I was even entertaining taking options on it, because right now it's not even a good options play. And to answer your question, let's see. To answer your question, I just saw you had typed in, do I do an analysis on stocks? Absolutely. Yep. I trade stocks and options and all that stuff. So if you have other stocks and you would like me to look at them, when it is like an open request like this, you're more than welcome to throw them at me. Again, just looking at charts. So if the chart says it looks like shit, by looking like shit, I'm going to tell you. I will not, by the way, this is a lot of exit volume at that, like man, this came back up on low volume to that 466, and then the next time it went to pump up there, it freaking had massive exit volume. Bobby says, Baba. Is that a stock, or are you talking Alibaba? The stock, or are you looking for crypto? Oh, great. Now it's not. Yeah, it's Alibaba's probably doing well. Yeah, see, now this is maybe what you would want to see on something like the stock that I was just looking at. You want to see a weekly low set. You want to see this reaccumulation resolve to a nice move to the upside. What's it doing? It's hitting main overhead resistances. So from like the weekly and monthly, it's looking like it could be a higher low turnaround on it. Back above like $100, $105, then it's looking good to the upside. To a minimum test, low $100 region, like 120 to 125 bucks here. You have basically just a couple of really big areas of overhead resistance, 102.50. You've got the closes there in between the closes and the wicks. You've got 113 to 125. You're going to stair step your way up, and this was prior resistance in 2014. It has cleared this low here, so I mean it's good to test probably up to like 100 and above over time. Fresh cross on the monthly. Weekly looks like it's ready to go. Yep, continuation. If we throw on bands, it's fresh expansion. So yeah, I mean from the weekly perspective, it's already tested into this low here and recovered it. So the next big high would be like 95, 96. Then we're looking to like 100, 105 area. Looks much better. As long as it's trading and holding above like 67 bucks, it's fine. Looks good. Likely going to resolve to the upside and continue. It can even pull back to where it started this week at the upper first on the weekly. So you've got a big zone of interest to the downside. Must hold around 68 bucks. So, oops, we don't want that. We want yellow. Otherwise, it's over. But it could even still play around at somewhere around that upper first down to 78 bucks. You don't really want to see that from the daily perspective though for continuation on the weekly. So you do want to see this just continue, reclaim, push up to like 90 to 95 bucks and then start moving up to about 100, 105 and then go from there. I can't see this ticker that Benjamin posted. CHNR. By the way, if you're a fundamentals stock trader, you're probably going to hate my analysis most of the time, because I don't give a rat's ass about fundamentals. So it's all about your chart, because charts can eventually drive fundamentals, and this is garbage. The weekly rejection to reaccumulation, if you're trying to play like, okay, if you're going to look at China, is this what you wanted, China Natural Resources? If you're going to play any of this, it better not be long dated options. You need short dated options and get the hell in and out. This is dog shit. Doesn't matter what the news tells you. This is dog shit. Could it turn around? Sure. Let's zoom out though. This is utter dog. Like this. All right. I just to give you. I hope you're not bullish on this, because if you are, this massive exit right there should tell you that you shouldn't be. Obviously, we know what's going on with China's economy. This was such a nasty wick on the highest volume seen ever. I mean, the last highest volume was in, the 2020 range. Prior to that, it was 07, 08. This is the highest rejection volume that this has ever seen in its existence. So, utter garbage. If you're going to play lower term time frame bounces, you can probably go for those on short dated options, where I mean, you might as well just long trade it at that point. I wouldn't even go into the options market with any of this. Brokers might not even offer it. This is such a nasty rejection that it's not. This is absolute garbage. Is it trying to bottom and like turn it around? Sure, but it's just probably going to get rejected. The daily is like, the daily's in a daily downtrend, and it's pushing up and bearishly resetting on momentum. It's going sideways on RSI. Volume is dead. We got earnings estimates that I'm not even going to be able to figure out anyway. Coming up, I would imagine after a massive exit like this, earnings probably aren't going to look good. But yeah, that is going to end up doing it for me today. I got to go eat. I forgot to eat lunch before I started the stream. So I'm going to go get something to eat. I will, of course, be back on Monday with a live stream. I am going to be adjusting live streams around in terms of scheduling. And I'm going to be doing a lot more Discord open discussions. So with the various communities, much like what we just did for our first one over there in the Pepe Ordinals Maxi community. We're going to be doing more of those. Might even be doing some other things in the communities as well, regarding like maybe we do a little bit of fundamentals on some things, because people did want to know about some fundamental stuff. Maybe some like, hey, help me, I don't know how to trade. And then I can take a look at, I can show you the basics of trend, support, and resistance, that kind of stuff. And we can all talk about it as a group, mixed in with TA, stuff like that. And then, of course, I'm going to get something rolling with NBO. We'll have some events there, and then there's going to be, at minimum for now, at least one event with Pepe Ordinals Maxis on Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll do that going forward. Don't hold me to it. I'm not necessarily like, if I miss like a week or something, don't get mad. But that's the plan going forward, at least. And then going to be booting up something with new Bitcoin order crew, just so that we can get communities involved and then various communities interacting with each other as well. Maybe Sigma is in the cards. I'd have to go talk to them. I don't even know if they'd be interested. I know that a lot of you that come and hang out here are from the Sigma server. Not sure if it'd be something that they're interested in. Maybe I'll contact the mod and see. And it's just, it's my way to give back to the communities that I enjoy hanging out in. So you have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Please pay attention to the beginning of the stream. Or I hope you paid attention to the beginning of the stream so you understand which targets and conditions I'm looking for on Bitcoin in order to look for more upside and potential areas of pullback areas of interest. TradingView is just not doing well for me today, so yeah, that's gonna do it. You have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe, and of course, as always, stay safe and have a great weekend. Love everybody that hangs out with me here on these streams, and I will talk to you next week on Monday. All right, take care. Landy out.
Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
Thank you, over.